So the essential objective is going to be composite function, understanding entire composition of the functions. We'll be starting with the SL core first. We'll be starting with the SL part, which basically has got how do we find out composite function. Then sometimes how do we decompose composite function. And HL part is like, understanding the base, like your understanding composite based on domain and range. So that will be the essential objective. We're going to take around 4 to 5 problems in this, and we'll take one of the big IB exam question. So let us just get started with the composite function first. Like, what do we understand by composite function? Now, since we have learned about the basics of the function, like let's say f of x is given as x minus 3 over 2x plus 5. And g of x is, let's say, x plus 1. Now, we all might be knowing that if I ask you to find out, let's say, f of 1, you will simply replace x with 1, right? So you will put 1 minus 3 upon 2 times 1 plus 5. So you get 1 minus 3 upon 2 plus 5, which is basically negative 2 upon 7. Similarly, if I ask you to find out, let's say, g of 5 or something. So g of 5 is going to be nothing but 6. So 5 plus 1, if you put x as 5 here, it will be 5 plus 1, which is 6. Now, if I ask a simple question is, find out basically, let's say f of g of 5. Now, when I say f of g of 5 or f g of 5, this means composite function. So you're inputting one of the output of one function into the other function. So g of 5 is the output of the g of x function. So first you're going to do is plug x as 5 here. Whatever the answer you get, plug in the x value for f. So since we got g of 5 already, so g of 5 is 6. So basically we have to find out f of 6. And f of 6 is going to be 6 minus 3 upon 2 times 6 plus 5. So you get 3 upon 18, 12 plus 5, which is 17. So this is basically a simple illustration of the composite function. Sometimes you'll see fg of 5. Sometimes you'll get fg5. They all mean the same. It doesn't mean that they're multiplied or something. They all mean the same. F of g of 5, fg5, f big bracket, and then g of 5, they all mean the same. That you start from here, you get first g of 5 and then go into f of 5. So this is a basic example of the composite function. Now, let us say if I take the same example, f of x is x minus, let's say, I'll just copy this question, x minus 3 upon 2x plus 5, x minus 3 upon 2x plus 5, and g of x is nothing but x plus 1. G of x is x plus 1. Now, sometimes you are asked to find out f, g, gf, or for that matter, f of f, or for that matter, g of gx. So something like this, So how do we tackle these stuff? Like, firstly, understand that, see, f of g means you're inputting g of x expression in f in place of x. So wherever you'll see x, so f of g of x, when I find out, f of g of x out here will be basically, you replace in place of f. So since we know f g of x is x plus 1, so basically you have to find out f of x plus 1. So f of x plus 1 is going to be, since g of x is x plus 1, so f of x plus 1 is something that we need to find out. So how will we find f of x plus 1? When I replace this x with x plus 1. So it'll be x plus 1 minus 3 upon 2 times x plus 1 plus 5. So this is f of x plus 1, and of course you need to simplify this. So f of x minus 2 upon 2x plus 7, because we open this up, you'll get 2x plus 7. So that's your f of g of x. Now what about g of f of x? In g of f of x, you're going to replace this x with f of x. So g of f of x means you have to find out g of x minus 3 over 2x plus 5, which means that you have to find out x minus 3 over 2x plus 5 and plus 1. So if you wish to simplify, it will be taking the LCM. So x minus 3 plus 2x plus 5 and whole thing divided by 2x plus 5. So you get 3x plus 2 upon 2x plus 5. That's your f of g of f of x. Now f of x is interesting because you're replacing x by f of x itself. So when you're finding that, it'll be basically f of x means you're finding f of x minus 3 upon 2x plus 5 itself. So wherever you see x, you replace that with x minus 3 upon 2x plus 5. And then minus 3 as it is, 2 times x minus 3 upon 2x plus 5 and plus 5. So I'm not taking the LCM of this. You can find it out by yourself. Coming to the fourth question, g of gx. So first here, what you're going to do is you're going to first plug g of x in g. So let's first find g of gx. So g of gx is replace x with x plus 1 in g. So you get g of gx is x plus 2 basically. Then to find g of x, now since we got this entire part as x plus 2, so basically I'll find out g of x plus 2 now, which is nothing but x plus 2 plus 1, which is x plus 3. So this is the basic part of the composite function that we need to find out. So now let's take a look at a question. Basically, how do we, it's not, I have to just do part B, but it's interesting if we can understand how do we do this entire question. So this has been given to us that f of x is negative 1 to 2. This is one of the revision village question. So f of 1 when I find out. So f of 1 from the graph, if you read, like at x equals to 1, my y value is 2. So f of 1 is straight away 2. Now, next up is f inverse of negative 2. So f inverse of negative 2. So since here we don't have either the function, let's say f inverse of negative 2, I assume that this function value is, let's say, a. Now, f inverse of negative 2 is a. So as I discussed the rule in like yesterday's session, f of a equals to negative 2. So when is the x value, when is the y value negative 2? So that is nothing but at negative 1. When I take x as negative 1, the y value is negative 2. So that's nothing but when I take a as negative 1, I get the y value as negative 2. So this answer is basically negative 1. Now f of 1. So already I found out f of 1. So f of 1 is nothing but 2. And now I have to find out f of 2 basically. So f of 2, when I find out f of 2, if you look at the graph, it is nothing but 6. And the last part is to sketch the graph of f of minus x, which is basically reflection across y-axis. So you're just going to reflect your graph across y-axis like this, something like here. That's your f of minus x graph. So this is more or less like a question based on the analytical skill in standard level. So now this is a typical kind of question that generally what we have is we have been given a composite function already. And one of the function is given, like for example, f of g of x is given as 3x minus 2 over x plus 5, and g of x is 2x plus 3. And what I have to do is I have to find out f of x. So in short, sometimes what you're done is that, let's say you're given the right hand side, here, and then you're given one of the function on the left hand side. Let's say I have given you g of x here, and you wanted to find out either this function Or consider the other context is that I have been given composite function. I have been given the outside function now, and I have to find out the inside one. So this is a question mark. And here the outside one is the question mark. Here the inside one is the question mark. So what should be your strategy in order to solve such questions? Now, look, this is pretty simple. If you remember the just two rules that I'm going to tell you, it makes your life much more easier. Now, there are different ways the teachers teach in this concept, but I remember that if I can give you a set rule, it helps a lot. So suppose if you have been given f of g of x as a function h of x, where h of x by default is the right hand side. Then if you wanted to find out, let's say if this has been given, the inside has been given, and you wanted to find out the outside function, then simply remember the rule is f of x equals to the composite function. You're going to find out composite function of h of g inverse x. H of g inverse x. So see, it's very simple. You put g of x in f to get h of x. So in place of this x, you plug g inverse x to get the original function back. But you don't need to remember that complicated method. You just remember that if you have got f of g of x as h of x, you input g of x inside f, just replace this x with g inverse x, you will get the answer. So f of x is h of g inverse x if this has been given to you. So what I can do is basically I'll find out g inverse x. So g inverse x, now I'll notice that it is x minus 3 over 2. So x minus 3 over 2 is g inverse. Now h of x is this. This is my h of x. When I say h of x means the right hand side. So my f of x is going to be 3 times x minus 3 over 2 minus 2 upon x minus 3 over 2 plus 5. So basically, I'm finding out the composite function of h of g inverse x. And out here, g inverse x is this. So just replace x with g inverse. And you'll simplify this. You'll get your function back. So the next part is, if you have got f of x is 8x raised to 6 and f of g of x is 2x to the power 8 plus 2. Now here what is happening is, you have been given basically, suppose if you have been given f of g of x as h of x. And in this case, you have been given outer function. And this becomes much more comfortable for us because we just dealt with a couple of questions like this, where you can just bring in f to the other side and you'll get g of x equals to f inverse of h of x. So f inverse is something that you need to find out. So if I find out inverse of this function, so if my function is y equals to 8x to the power 6, interchange x with y, so it'll be 8y raised to 6. So y will be x upon 8, the 6th root of this function. So you have to just replace this x with h of x, which is nothing but, so the answer is going to be 6th root of 2x to the power 8 plus 2 divided by 8. So that's your answer for g of x out here. So you can see the two differences. If you have been given inside one and you wanted to find out outside one, then you use this logic. If you've been given outside one and you wanted to find out the inside function, then you use this logic. So this is it is called decomposition of your composite function. And let us try to take two more examples on this. So first question here we have got is f of g of x is given as 3x minus 2 over 7 and g of x is given as 4 by 5x minus 2. So since if it is f of g of x is h of x, here g of x is given, f of h of x is given, and you wanted to find out f of x, it is going to be h of g inverse x. So first you find g inverse x, so it will be y equals to 4 by 5 x minus 2, and interchanging x with y, so 4 by 5 y minus 2. So y is going to be x plus 2 times 5 over 4. So this is your basically f inverse g inverse x. So this is g inverse x. Now replace this x with this particular value. So it'll become 3 times 5 by 4 x plus 2 minus 2 upon 7. And of course, I'm not simplifying it. Simplification can be done like easily for this. While if you look at the second question, here we have been given f of g of x is nothing but h of x. You have been given h of x, you have been given f of x. So you have to find out g of x. So g of x is going to be f inverse of h of x. So f inverse of h of x, so inverse of this function we already have got. So f inverse will be 5 by 4x plus 2. So replace this x now, f inverse of h of x. So replace this x with h of x, which is this. So it'll become 5 by 4 times 3x minus 2 by 7 and plus 2. So that's nothing but your g of x gonna be. So this is how you decompose the functions, and I hope like you have understood.